Who is Sid Mead? Where's he from? How did he become who he is? How did he get trained? What's his family like, etc.?
Well, as you mentioned in your blog today, he was born in St. Paul, Minnesota, and his dad was a Baptist preacher. His mom, I believe, was a housewife. She was involved in the church. She played musical instruments, and as is revealed in the doc, Sid basically was self-taught. He started drawing when he was very young, and his dad, being involved in ministry, he was also involved in education, and he actually did a paper on creativity in children. And so he did actively encourage his son to draw. And so Sid from a very young age was drawing. And later on he went to Art Center, but as he says in the doc, he didn't learn how to draw from Art Center. He was already drawing. The ability was there. What he learned was methodology and procedure and how to do it to make money. So he essentially is self-taught. And I know his influences that he's told me were... one of the big influences was Chesley Bonstall, which was a...
legendary space artist.
There you go.
Yeah, and you show some of his work in the documentary.
Yes.
Sid Mead's work has what I call a heavily machined look. When you look at his metropolises, they're often so massive and so dense, they almost read as a type of terraforming.
Yeah.
How would you describe his style?
Yeah, it's dense visual detail. And I think that was there before the films. I know in films, he's always being asked to add more, do more, because it somehow texture and accumulation of detail lends believability and reality to things. But that texture and detail is there in his work. That's nothing to do with the film. So it was already there in him. And I think that has to do with his ability as an artist. Is I think he's not satisfied with just doing something that is kind of flat looking or not too much texture to it. I think he likes to get into detail. He mentioned to me one time that when you look at one of his pieces, that he'd like for you to be able to take like four shots at different portions of it, and each 4 shots that you take would tell its own story. So what was cool about doing this doc, and also challenging, but a fun challenge, is like, okay, we got this densely detailed visual piece. What do I show? Do I just show the whole piece? Or do I focus your eye on a particular point of the piece? And invariably what I did was a cornucopia of all those things, depending on the piece. But his stuff holds up under scrutiny, under the magnifying glass, under the lens. You can put, I could literally put the camera anywhere on his stuff, and there would be something interesting, composed to look at, and you never run out of ideas there.
Those of you who have heard of Sid Mead's work, or if you haven't heard of Sid Mead's work, can go to my website, Media Assassin, at harryallen.info, and we have a number of Sid Mead's works for U.S. Steel. This is contract work he did for U.S. Steel in the early 60s. And you can look at some of those pieces there and click on some of the links to see other works by Sid Mead. Right now we're going to listen. I'm going to watch, but our listeners are going to listen to a portion of your DVD where Sid Mead, Diane Sublett, who's the former senior VP of the Art Center in Los Angeles, which is Mead's alma mater, Richard Taylor, effects supervisor for Tron, and James Knight, design manager for Lego, all of them talking about the role of story, which you just mentioned, the role of story in design. And this section is about 2 minutes.
The story creates the scenario. And then essentially I populate the scenario with either people in costume, the vehicles that I've chosen to make a picture of. So in my mind, I'm really making a still shot for like a continuing story that may never be made into anything other than just that picture.
I think even the design of a car is a story. As you look at a car, if it's successful, it tells you its whole backstory just in the way it's designed, and encourages you to lay your own stories on top of that too. That's why we choose different cars. We're attracted to different kinds of stories that say something about ourselves. Sid himself is a storyteller.
I think that's the key to all good art. It's what good music is. It's what good films are. It's what great dance is. The arts are about telling stories and entertaining and opening up the heart. And Sid's work does that. Even though, his work is very technological and very, scientific in many cases, it still has a warmth about it, still has a humanness in it.
When you sit back and you look at something, and a story reaches inside and it grabs you and it inspires you and it drives you to do something. That's kind of what makes me go to work every day, is that I want to create something that emotionally touches something. And of course it's produced by these, it's bound by these rules, but they don't really apply when that you forget about those when something touches you emotionally.